Correction. In the top left-hand side of the map, it's Astrea. And in the bottom right-hand side of the map, it is SortOf. SortOf representing Team Cascade, whereas Astrea is representing Team Alpha X. And yeah, like I said, both these guys, some of my favorite StarCraft 2 players. Astrea, he's a very up-and-up Protoss player, playing incredibly well, playing series like in GSL qualifiers, getting close to qualifying, and then probably just, I'd say, one of the top 4, probably the top 4th North American player. We haven't really seen him face off versus Scarlet too much, or Special, as a matter of fact. However, yeah, he's definitely up there, like, without a doubt, I'd say, in my opinion. We have yet to see him get a little bit more tested, but I'm sure we will. And then, of course, SortOf. He's been around a long time, for those of you unaware. And he's got very good mechanics. He's just someone who plays really close series versus some of the best in the world at times. I know, I kind of have ideas in my head as far as my ideas of players, like where I get my ideas of like a player. Like, and my memory of SortOf goes back to, I think it was one of the WCS 2016 events in which he had a close series versus Showtime, which was a 2-3 series, I think, which Showtime went on to go win the whole event. So I'm excited to watch this PvZ. SortOf going to be trying to get up his third base, whereas the probe is going to be getting chased away. Ling! Oh no! Oh, it runs right on by the Adept. 300 viewers is great to see already. Thanks so much to everyone tuning on in. Keep in mind, the winner of this is going to face off versus Solar next, and then we'll move on to the European portion of the event. Looks like a Phoenix is on the way for Astrea. Metabolic boost as well. Queen's going to be chasing away this Adept. The Creep Tumor doesn't go down. Second Adept is coming in for Astrea. A drone has already died, as these Adepts are now going to be shading on in towards the main base. I doubt they'll commit because there is a fair few links. However, are they going to go for it? No, not quite. Last second cancel. Metabolic boost on the way for Astrea. Or that's Pneumatized Carapace, pardon me. So he is going to have that Overlord speed. Wants to really see what the Protoss is up to. Sort of going to be going for that upgrade. 2 Adepts shading back for Astrea. At the natural. There we go. Solid wall of Adepts. Oracle's on the way out. And we're actually going to have to see. Oracles were recently changed, like very recently, or it was announced that Blizzard was going to revert them so that they would function a lot better now. So that's actually kind of curious. Is this on this version of the patch? I'm not sure if that's been pushed or not. That being said, though, that Oracle does not work out well for Astrea. Eats a lot of damage, almost goes down for virtually nothing there. Just the one drone. Overlords flying around for SortOf, just basically confirming all the scouts. As if you're a Protoss player and you go for Pneumatized Carapace, you're pretty much guaranteed to see everything as Overlords. They are very good at just scouting out like the entire base. Now Oracle's moving across the map with the few Adepts for Astrea, as he also gets up his third base. Might be able to pressure a little bit, however, SortOf making a few more lings. He's got his queens. He should be more than adequately prepared to defend versus this 5 Adepts are out for Astrea. So he's going for a bit of an odd poke here. I think that SortOf should be able to defend this, though. We shall see, though. Queen's already trying to zone these units away. Sort of, he's got a decent ling count with the queens. Yeah, he definitely should be fine. A bit of a bluff here from Astrea, I guess, as I don't think he's really going to commit to this. Maybe he will. 2 adepts to the third, 3 to the main. No. Oh, just the 2 to, just the 2 there, but they're going to get caught up. And they will go down for the 1 drone. Queen's in position to defend from the oracles. Very, very nice. Astrea is looking good so far. Or sort of looking good so far on his defense. And he is one of these defensive European Zergs. This is where he really thrives. Oh, the Ling's actually going to catch these Adepts a little bit out of position, away from the shield battery. So 2 of them going to go down. 3 of them, all 3 of the Adepts going to go down. The Lings are going to get punished by the Oracles as a result, however. Not a bad trade at all from Sort of. This game really not opening up the way that Astrea wants. Sort of is going to be growing pretty quick here as he's getting up his +1 for his roaches, roach speed, a Hydralisk Den and an infestation pit on the way behind this, and then that 4th base on the way. So Sort of having quite an alright opening. Queens trying to defend the creep there as the Oracle zap that down. Astrea isn't in a bad position at all by any means, really. It's not a fantastic opening or anything like that, but it kind of is just trivial stuff that's happened so far. Like no major probe kills or anything like that. Oracle's going to be sharking about 2 for Astrea. We'll see if he's able to get anything with them. Maybe get some of these drones if he's paying attention. Doesn't turn around to get those drones, heading towards the 3rd. Queen is in position, going to shoo away one of those oracles. Now these drones could be in trouble. They're running to the queens for safety. 4 or 5 drones going down, so a nice bit of damage getting done for Astrea, putting in the work there. Sort of, though, has gone for quite a quick tech here. Gonna be having out a lurker den by the 8-minute mark in the game, which is pretty darn quick for lurkers. He's going to need all the units he can get, though, because it looks like Astrea is going to be moving out on the map. Astrea is on 6 gateways currently. He's warping in some Archons or some High Templar back here as well. We'll see if he makes some Archons. Yes, he will. So 3 more Archons going to be coming here. We'll see if he's actually serious about a push, but as he throws up a 4th base, that's probably not the case. Warp Prism getting loaded up for Astrea, but oh, this could be a bit of a mispositioning here. Oh, that Prism flew dangerously close to the Hydras. Instead, it's the Oracles that get it. Overlord does see these Zealots moving towards the 4th base, though, so a bit of a double-pronged attack here. Is sort of prepared for this attack that's coming his way. He's got quite an army down at the south here. One of the Archons goes down fairly quickly. Looks like there is Queens and Hydras in position to defend. The Prism gets shooed away. The Zealot's going to get a couple of drones there, but then ultimately not that much getting done there by Astrea. Storm on the way for Astrea behind this, however, sort of reaching a very high supply count. He's got the Lurkers on the way. Getting a range upgrade for the Lurkers as well. Pardon me, the name of it escapes me at this current moment. It's one of the newer Zerg upgrades. We'll see it when it pops up on the side there. +2 attack is on the way for Astrea, so he's going to have that for him. He's going to have quite a strong Protoss ground army. But so far as actually making any damage happen this game, really not a lot. Not a lot going on so far for Astrea. He's tried to push sort of a little bit. The most that he's really got done, I'd say, so far was the Oracles just getting a couple of those drones there. So really no major damage or anything. Sort of who's playing the defensive game is really doing a good job of it. He's thrown up a ton of spine crawlers here at his natural base. 3 of them going up. A lot more going up, as a matter of fact. Sort of really playing that defensive style, getting up spines to cover all of his bases here, taking harassment very, very seriously, which is honestly a breath of fresh air. Zerg is really focusing on the defense like this and just saying, right, I want to be covered. Even when I'm not paying attention to a base, I want to make sure that I'm not going to take damage. Those spines are going to do that if there's a lot of chaos, and Astrea throws in some Zealots, and look at that. Spines in position, the Zealots get sent away. Now, this game's going to be going longer here, as we're already seeing carrier production begin for Astrea, while SortOf is just making no moves across the map. He's throwing up spore crawlers, and this is going to be a very, very late game PvZ we're seeing. +3 attack is on the way for Astrea. He's getting Blink, getting up a 5th base as well, so neither of these players really focusing on a big attack. Astrea's pushing on in, but I don't think this is too serious of a push. He's just hoping to bait SortOf into some bad engagement here, but it's not like he's warping in a ton of Zealots or anything to reinforce this attack. It's just as Immortals and High Templar push in a little bit, being a bit of a pain, while he's getting carriers up behind this. SortOf might want to go for a bit of a counterattack here, however, Astrea, who's also switching gears to the defensive playstyle, has cannons really at all of his bases. And yeah, this game is going to be going long. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Astrea just built 3 Stargates. Astrea has been getting off some nice Psystorms, however, it's nothing too major that's been going on. Looks like a few Hydras have died, while the Vipers are building up their energy. Soon they'll be able to start abducting units and punishing Astrea a little bit, or just to dive on top of the army. We shall see what the choice is. SortOf looking to hopefully catch his opponent off guard a little bit, but a Spire and a Greater Spire on the way for SortOf, so going to have that potential Broodlord Viper combination, which is a very nice unit composition. Looks like Astrea going to be moving in with an odd army here. 1 High Templar and a few Zealots, while the Protoss is just testing the waters of SortOf. Astrea, I have to say, is doing a good job being partially aggressive. It's not like he's going for a big attack, but he's really not letting SortOf sit back and completely relax, which is what SortOf's been playing at this entire game. Now, Zealot's going to be moving towards the natural. There is those Spine Crawlers there, though, so that's really going to help on out. The Zealot's going to have to hightail it into the main base, but they're already quite bruised up. This should be able to get cleaned on up by SortOf. The rest of the army is going to be moving towards this base here. Lurkers are repositioning, though. Blinding Clouds going down. Vipers get feedback, but they don't die notably, thanks to that nerf the High Templar received quite a while ago at this point. Lurkers getting engaged here. Looks like SortOf is not prepared here. Eating some Psystorm, loses a lot of his Lurkers. The rest of his Lurkers do reposition. He does have adaptive talents too, so the Lurkers can shuffle around a lot quicker. However, that was quite a good engagement for Astrea, so we actually see the resources lost go much higher for the Protoss player. And while SortOf can play the late game and can build up a strong army, the main component of the late game is your ability to trade efficiently, and we'll see how that's going to play out later on now that SortOf's starting to reach up to Broodlords, get up Corruptors and things like that. He does still have to be careful, though. I mean, if he doesn't trade efficiently, he'll just eventually lose out, and there's also the threat of just outright dying on top of that, so very concerning here for Astrea, for SortOf, pardon me. Astrea just seems to be the player who's been much more active this game, while SortOf just has one goal in mind, which really is just defend, 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 defend. He has barely made aggressive moves towards his opponent, and suddenly the minimal damage that Astrea got done earlier in this game, it's moot. Both these guys are basically just playing with all the resources they need. They're both pretty much maxed out. They're building up their banks. They're just hurdling and choosing their unit compositions, what best suits them, they feel. And it suddenly just becomes that dance. So far, Astrea has been getting a lot of value with his Psystorm. He's now got quite a carrier count. The Hydras are here. However, there's actually not that much anti-air for SortOf to push this army back. He doesn't even have that much of a bank, thanks to the fact that Astrea's been training out pretty well this entire game. The Hydras are able to push the carriers back, but are they even really? There's all these Corruptors now, which definitely are up to the task. Zealot counterattack. The Spine Crawler's doing their job, though, buying some time for SortOf, so he doesn't lose many drones at this location yet, so he should be able to react and clean this up. Spine Crawlers did their job preventing that damage. Now, we take a look here. Astrea still looking to push and poke, just with a couple of Immortals, High Templar, and then just an odd number of carriers. I mean, this isn't even that many carriers at this point. Now he's starting to reach up to a high count with 9. SortOf just, while he's been playing the late game, he hasn't really reached a super scary situation. He's just been bleeding off a ton of units. 7,000 resources lost, more than Astrea. And this is just getting worse and worse for the Zerg. I mean, he hasn't really reached that scary late game Zerg composition with the huge bank, with the spines and spores everywhere. And that's because Astrea has been poking non-stop into his opponent, and that's allowed him to buy himself, or that's bought him macro freedom. He can just build up. This is what SortOf wants to be doing, building up, taking all the bases, while SortOf's just turtling as Zerg, and we're seeing this is the new patch in effect. SortOf can't just make mass infestors and basically just sit back and be fine on way less supply or anything like that. The carriers, the Psystorm that Astrea has been using very well has been working wonders, and also the Hydras that SortOf has been making haven't really been doing much this game at all, except dying in glorious fashion there as a brutal Psystorm goes down. Drones are also dying to mass DTs here, hitting this base. Astrea has linked for them, and the DTs are actually kind of winning there, and all of a sudden we take a look. I mean, this is just looking very, very tough for SortOf, eating nasty Psystorms. His Broodlords are engaging the Archons. His Corruptors are going to go in. It doesn't look like there's much Psystorm, so the Corruptors are just diving on top. A nice Parasitic Bomb has hit the carrier. Is going to weaken these up before the Corruptors try and focus them down, but there isn't even enough Corruptors still. SortOf doesn't have the economy. He doesn't have just the redundancy, I guess, in order to stay alive here. His Corruptors might be able to nab up a few more of the carriers that are low on Interceptors, and I mean, it's actually going to be very, very close here as the Broodlords engage the Stalkers, so a surprisingly close fight. Infestors come in, toss down a Fungal Growth because they don't really have anything else they can use, but at the end of the day, there's just like 4 carriers here for Astrea. His economy is better, his ability to remax is better, and so the Zerg pushes back the Protoss, but SortOf, he lost, or he didn't get that base up in the bottom left. He's down to 67 drones, and Astrea is just laughing with his mass carrier and everything. And so far, game number 1 is really looking to go Astrea's way. Like, SortOf, he stayed alive there, somewhat surprisingly, but he just doesn't have that much of a bank to remax here. I mean, he doesn't have that many Corruptors, which he's going to need because the carrier count is growing once more. The upgrades for Astrea are serious business, and while he SortOf is finally getting some counter damage done, it's really minimal this game. Mass carriers here. Archons, carriers. Quite an army for Astrea. SortOf, he's moved out because he feels the need to get some damage done, but I don't know if he's got the army. He's coming in at a pretty good angle, though. His Corruptors are hitting the carriers, not necessarily all focusing down the same one, and there just isn't enough anti-air here for SortOf. His Corruptors aren't trading efficiently, so the carriers are actually taking down some of the Corruptors, and it looks like that's probably going to be GG. I mean, the Zerg is in full-on retreat at this point, and he's just trickling out units. He never reached that 200. He maxed out in this game, yes, but he never reached like that good army. He had a lot of Hydras and Lings that he was constantly remaking, and as a result, Astrea takes the favorable fights over and over, and then eventually the game. So well played by Astrea. Second map is going to be World of Sleepers between these two, and I think maybe SortOf needs to get a bit more aggressive or something. Like, Astrea clearly confident in the late game on the new patch. Protoss really got its legs back, it would seem, in the late game, and Astrea knows how to play it. As, yeah, like, the play is just really, really good. Really, really good indeed from Astrea there. And it's still a little bit up in the air. I think we're going to have to wait to see before, say, Serral or someone plays like the late game versus Protoss on the new patch a lot. That's when we're really going to see it, I feel. Or maybe he has, but I honestly haven't seen it. And I think it's still being figured out a little bit as to what race has the superior late game. And honestly, That is like such a big component of StarCraft 2. I'm the guy who talks about the late game, but it's a fact. Like, the race that has had the superior late game in a matchup has always had the easier time, has always seemed more dominant in a sense, because just naturally games are eventually going to go long. Like, if you don't kill your opponent, it's going to go to the late game, and then you get an inherent advantage if you're the race with the better late game. And Astrea here in the top right showed us that he's quite comfortable at that. And in the bottom left, it's SortOf. Well, SortOf, I think before the Infestor nerfed his style there would have been very good. That simply isn't the case anymore. Infestors are no good. Not anymore. Astrea not going for a probe scout just yet. I would like to see SortOf bring something out that's aggressive. I honestly haven't watched enough of his play lately, though, to know how exactly he always plays, or even Astrea. I know both these guys are very, very good at the game, and they really show impressive games most of the time. But sometimes it is important to question players' like fundamental styles of how they approach the game a lot. Stalker on the way here for Astrea. Not going for the Adept is an interesting choice. Stalker into Stargate, as a matter of fact. Maybe Astrea just hoping to nab himself an Overlord, perhaps. Or it could be a sign of what he's going to go for after this. Could be something like Blink or something more hidden, maybe, that he's going to want to try and keep secret with a Stalker. I honestly don't play a ton of Protoss, so I'm not familiar on why players would choose specific openings. If I actually had more time, I was going to see, since Falcon's not here today, that if I could maybe get on like a pro player or something to give me a bit more insight as to why players do what they do. Because that is a big portion of how I cast, and I think having like a pro to ask questions with would be really, really great to see. Just like, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? I'd probably drive him nuts, but it's really important to question everything. It's a big part of playing StarCraft 2 and being a pro gamer, I'm willing to bet, is questioning every single decision. That's how you become the player who makes the best stylistic choices. Now, Astrea, once again, going for this Oracle while SortOf goes for his Pneumatized Carapace. Two Queens are at the natural here, so the Oracle gonna get shoot away, gets one kill. This drone could be in some trouble here, not safe in his little Spore hut. Now, here's a question. In this case, this is just completely random. In this case, is it worth it to build an Evo instead? Like, because an Oracle I don't think can out-damage a building Evo. Of course, you actually want the Spore, but in a case in which it would save the drone because you're not going to be there in time, is it worth it to build the Evo instead of the Spore, if you know that the drone's probably going to die? These are questions. Questions that should get answers. SortOf out on the map with his Lings. Could catch these Adepts if he finds them, but he's not finding them. Looks like he's wrapping around a little bit. Is he going to be in position to deal with these Adepts? 6 Adepts moving out on the map for Astrea, so once again he's going to try that kind of Oracle shenanigans. The Ling's potentially going to catch a couple of these, but the Adepts do clump up. SortOf's actually just going to take this fight, but then backs off, realizing, no, that's probably a few too many Adepts for me to deal with, as Astrea shades him back. Forge on the way here. Twilight Council finishing on up. Queen working away on this Phoenix. While +1 is on the way for SortOf. So SortOf already changing things up, going for maybe a more melee-esque style. Potentially just going to play with a lot of Ling Bane. Or maybe he'll go into like a Ling Bane Hydra or something like that. As his lair is about to finish up. I'm willing to bet we'll see a Hydra Den. Nothing so far. The use of this lair remains to be seen, but a 4th base on the way for SortOf. Astrea has his oracles moving out. Maybe looking for transferring drones, gonna get a creep tumor or two. Willing to burn the energy to deny the creep, which is quite a wise move. These queens coming back though, probably gonna want to try and spread that creep as soon as they can. Templar Archives on the way, so both players are macroing up, but in different fashions. At least for SortOf, as opposed to going into Hydras, he's just making Lings and Banes and got a couple of Roaches. An Infestation Pit on the way again. Astrea is going for more of the same, going to be going for that Templar Archives. Archon's in charge, potentially looking for some aggression here. However, seems like SortOf's the one who's changing it up a little bit more, going for more Roaches, cutting out the Hydras, probably a wise move. The Hydras really didn't do anything in that last game. Now, the 4th base could be a little bit exposed here for SortOf. He's got a lot of Lings, though. He's got the Raptors, which can always toss down Corrosive Bowls on this army, and actually a pretty good engagement so far. Corrosive Bowl really hits one of those Immortals. It gets focused down by the Lings. SortOf, though, is going to have to retreat as he loses all of his Lings that were the buffer for this. And now Astrea, while he lost the Immortal, he's going to be going in again with charge lots, with Archons, and SortOf needs to be making units. He just fired up a ton of drones, but I think he maybe expected Astrea to back off like he did in the last game, whereas right now Astrea could just be moving in for a big attack once more. The Roach count has grown a little bit. More Lings are on the way to help out, but this is still going to be a bit of a scary attack. Even a Stasis Ward getting tossed down, 2 Stasis Wards getting tossed down by Astrea. And right now, SortOf is just all focused on the defense. He's making Banelings, which will really help out versus the Zealots. Not if they hit the Archons, though, so we shall see if SortOf is able to repel a potential attack incoming, though. Astrea not just going to commit in, not just doing the Hail Mary. Well, he has postured quite aggressively. He is going up to the 4th base, so he could very well just macro out behind us again. Oh, Corrosive Bowl! Oh, just misses the Prism there. Adepts for Astrea, not good for much without their Resonating Glaives, but maybe going to try and find their way towards one of SortOf's bases, catch themselves a few drones. Now, SortOf this game is actually tacking up to a greater Spire this time, much quicker than the previous game. It's like Zealots in the main base going to be giving SortOf grief as well. All these Queens going to be dying. The Greater Spire potentially even going to be seen, which is a big tip-off there. These Adepts are going to be getting cleaned up by the Banelings. However, Astrea is kind of just running circles around SortOf a little bit. SortOf's trying to get up his 5th base here. Zealots are on that location, though. Banelings coming on in. They will not save that base, though. Yeah. Astrea gets himself a nice move there. Now, that being said, there isn't a lot of anti-air to deal with the quick Broodlords that sort of could potentially be going for. If he fires up around the Corruptors, Astrea's not really going to have an answer. He doesn't even have Blink done just yet. It's researching, but it's a ways away. So if SortOf was really, really rushing these Broodlords, he'd probably be fine. But even now, his army is quite terrifying, as he's got a high amount of Ravagers, a high amount of Roaches, and Banelings. So SortOf, if he goes on the offense now, might be able to make something happen. Take a look at this. Lings and Banelings actually chasing probes. 8 probes go down there. A lot more could have gone down. However, not quite. Lings getting caught in the stasis wards there. Being a pain. Zealots moving in for a bit of a counterattack here. Astrea trying to keep SortOf back. That's definitely what Astrea wants to play at this point. Keep the Zerg player back long enough so you can build up into that late game once again, so you can start taking those favorable trades. But just the fact that SortOf's playing with like a more Ling Bane Ravager, which is kind of more of an explosive style, but it really trades out better versus the Protoss, whereas the Hydras were just bleeding off in the previous match, and we're about to see Broodlords finish up. There's really not that much of an answer for them. There is Stalkers, however, when there's Banelings to roll under the Stalkers, prevent them from blinking on in. It's usually pretty darn good for the Zerg. Force fields go down. Some of these Broodlords are going to be getting caught, and Morphs get cancelled. SortOf just trying to hang on for now, just trying to defend. Banelings roll right on into one of those Archons, but there's a Broodlord in the sky, which just represents the zoning capability, which means Astrea's either going to have to stay or go for the attack, because he will eventually start getting nibbled away by these Broodlords. That Broodlord count is going to surge on up here. And while there is enough Stalkers to handle the Broodlords, it is not easy to engage a Zerg army like this. Astrea's going to have to be very careful. Likewise for SortOf not to eat any nasty Psystorms. But the Corrosive Bile is also helping zone out this Protoss army, making it so that Astrea can't just Psystorm and take a good trade. He's usually losing something when a fight happens. Banelings roll forward. A lot of Psystorms hit them though, but that killed off some of the Stalkers. There's still a lot of Roaches and Ravagers on the ground, but they are also eating more Psystorms. Astrea just blanketing down that storm while keeping the aggression on his opponent. Fungal growth on the way for SortOf. He's still just sitting back. He's really just turtling on up. And that probably is one of my bigger complaints of the games for SortOf. He's not being that aggressive versus his opponent. He probably had a window there when he had the Broods done and could have maybe gone for an attack with his high Roach Bane supply. But for now, he's just sitting back. Got the Broodlords coming forward. Gonna try and push this army away, which he will do. But what's he really pecking on up for? At some point, SortOf has to kill his opponent. He's probably not just playing to outlast Astrea. So when is he going to try and turn things around and put the aggression on his opponent? Because on paper, I mean, Broodlord, Infestor, Bane, Roach, Ravager really does beat out Stalker, Templar, Archon, I believe. Stalker's coming on in. Astrea is looking just to snipe this base off. Some Psystorm is being baited out, but the hatchery goes down. Nice move there. Just costs Astrea an immortal. The Broodlords are in high enough number, though, to start pushing this force away. In comes Astrea with split armies. Now, this is always risky fighting with split armies. However, he does have a lot of Zealots here to help out. The Spine Crawlers, while they're buying time, are not doing that much. There's also a big Zealot Warpin going to be hitting this base here, too. The 5th base of SortOf under fire. Well, he's just trying to defend his 3rd base. His 4th base was already killed. And things are just really going sour for SortOf here. All of a sudden, we take a look, and he's down 50 supply. He doesn't have a bank. Oh my gosh, another Zealot Warpin going on in his main base. Astrea is just playing SortOf like a fiddle. And it's just going to show that Astrea is just too good for SortOf just to sit back and really do nothing against. He's just been poked and prodded, and now he's taken what I'd say is essentially critical damage. He's got Broodlords, he's got Infestors, yes, but this is not the previous patch. If this was the previous patch, I'd say eat your heart out and sit back as long as you want, SortOf, but Astrea has the option to build up to carriers. He's just got an absolutely insane economy, and he's just been trading pretty darn well this entire game, and should be able to close this one out, I feel. I mean, yeah, this is just not going the way of SortOf. Astrea taking more and more bases. He's like, yeah, I'm totally just rocking this game. May as well expand some more. He's throwing up all the additional tech, and he knows he's got SortOf against the ropes here. Fungal growth goes down, and Infest or a Ravager was in some dropper hordes there, but SortOf loses another one of his bases here. A lot of these Zealots are going to go down in the process there, but Astrea, he's getting up a mothership. He can probably start teching more carriers soon. He's just got a huge bank compared to his opponent. Looks like this army is getting chased a little bit, but the Psystorm helping zone away the Broodlords. The Oracle's even killing off the Infestors is really nice, and the Stalkers are just saying, you know what, we're going to go for it. The Broodlords getting Psystorm. It looks like they are trading out alright versus all of these Stalkers. It looks like the Protoss army is going to fall to all these Broodlords, while SortOf's also counterattacking here, but I mean, Astrea, he can afford to take trades like this. That's from the luxury of his lead. And I don't even know if SortOf can replace all these Broodlords that he's just lost. He's even going to lose another Infestor. These Oracles killing off Infestors left, right, and center. Very, very nice play from Astrea. While the supply is, I was just going to say even, but then another huge Warpin goes down. While the supply was close for a second there, it's not that good for SortOf. He is going to push in with his Broodlords. He's got some Ravagers. I mean, he can try and corrosive ball down this army. The Broodlords are already getting their Lings down, their Broodlings down, which is going to help them out. However, I'm still having a tough time believing that SortOf's going to be able to make any meaningful push happen. He's just trickling out units on the back of his pitiful economy, 37 drones. He might even be able to get a Nexus, but look at this, there's even a Phoenix in the sky, or is this just hallucinated? No, it's not even hallucinated. Literally one Phoenix is going to be killing off these Broodlords. The Mothership can actually come on in too, and there's nothing to challenge her. So while SortOf is killing off units, he is just done in this game, and that means that Astrea is going to be moving on in the upper bracket to face off against Solar, another Zerg player. And yeah, SortOf is just dead. GG, a 2-0 for Astrea. Very nice play from the Protoss player, and that means we are going to have Astrea versus Solar, which should be a very fun PvZ. Let me update that tile there.